Good evening and welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD Television. I'm Steve Lance. Here's a look at what's coming up. New funding for hurricane recovery in Florida. Federal and state officials pushing hard to turn the lights back on in the hardest hit areas. What it's like on the ground. And with just about 3 weeks before the election, Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump holding dueling events in Pennsylvania. The latest from both campaigns in the critical swing state. And former President Trump campaigning in deep blue states. Does the former president have a chance to turn the tide? And what's at stake for those down ballot races? Bill O'Reilly join us to discuss what's influencing voters and how voter registration, or lack thereof, might impact down ballot tickets. Plus, Bill will tell us what he's learned researching all 45 U.S. presidents.
This is Capitol Report, live from our global headquarters in our nation's capital. Here's Steve Lance.
The state of Florida is recovering after 2 consecutive hurricanes. Federal and state officials announcing new funding to rebuild damaged infrastructure. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley reports.
The devastation of Hurricanes Helene and Milton is still being assessed. That's as Florida residents are enduring the unusual back-to-back storms in 2 weeks. Governor Ron DeSantis announcing new funding for East Coast seaports.
To minimize impacts to Floridians and to ensure Seaport Vanity gets back to full and efficient operations as quickly as possible, I'm today announcing that the state of Florida will provide $9.5 million to jumpstart the recovery and help repair the impacted infrastructure.
DeSantis also said that debris removal could take up to a year. This comes a day after President Biden was in Tampa to survey the damage caused by Hurricane Milton. He announced more than $500 million in funding to rebuild the electric grid.
I spoke with first responders who've been working around the clock. I also met with small business owners here and homeowners who have taken a real beating these back-to-back storms. And they're heartbroken and exhausted, and their expenses are piling up.
He announced more than $500 million in funding to rebuild the electric grid. That's as hundreds of thousands are still without power. Biden said the funding will restore power to the region and make its systems stronger and more capable for future natural disasters. He said there's been a whole government effort, including assistance from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, to provide aid to communities. He said individuals can ask for different types of assistance, such as financial aid, no interest payment loans, and mortgage relief. Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And following those back-to-back hurricanes that hit Florida, residents pitching in to help their neighbors rebuild. For more, NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley joins us in studio. Jack, it's great to have you in here. You were just down there. You were speaking to residents. Your reporting really showed that the American spirit was on in full display. Tell us what you learned while you were there.
Well, we definitely saw that. But first, about the death toll, we've reached 17 people. A lot on the East Coast where the tornadoes hit, which was unexpected. But as far as where we went from where the hurricane started in Sarasota all the way up to Tampa, where we saw lots of flooding, all over to Daytona Beach, and then down to St. Lucie, where those tornadoes unexpectedly came out of nowhere and just ran through communities. What we're seeing on screen here now, this is some of the flooding that we saw this was in Tampa, North Tampa, and residents, this owner of this house right here told me that he had to leave his home even after sticking it out through the storm because flooding got so bad after the storm. They were going to stay in the nearest hotel, which was in Orlando. They had to drive pretty far to get there. So this is one example among many. But people they had a neighborly support. Everyone was very supportive of one another. And I interviewed a lot of people with that common theme. Let's roll some of that now.
I have a big family, so we all kind of just gather around and kind of see what we can do around, ask neighbors, do you need any help? Everyone's kind of with each other at this point. We all know, we all just went through a hurricane. It's good to like have each other's back, basically, like for everyone in the community.
Some trees went down around the neighborhood. I went around and moved them out of the road so people could get through, you know, just in case power guys need to come in, and I raked the road, got all the debris out of the road for everybody on our street.
You know, everybody's kind of looking out for each other, and see the power crews are here. Thank you.
You know, this was all beautiful, full of citrus trees and oak trees, and now it's just, you know, trees are gone, all of them. It's just 1 second you're here and 1 second you're not, you know. So we feel grateful. People say, oh, you must be, you know, depressed or sad. No, my whole family is okay. All my employees are okay. They're like family. And my family was here in droves to help today. We were able to give away the contents of our walk-in cooler and freezer. You know, all our lettuce, and I had a bunch of citrus, and we gave it to customers. We gave it to passersby for free, and it made us feel good.
I actually am the only one of my family, my extended family, who has power, so I actually had to host like 20 people at my house the past few days, and I think they're starting to turn back on, but I actually got really lucky and had power the whole time.
These experiences happen in life. People have to realize that there's somebody with you, and you never have to worry.
So very inspirational right there. We saw a lot of people just offering their support, and everyone we approached, almost every single person was very willing to talk with us and explain their situation, and then also just had this open heart to help their neighbors. During the disaster, one person said that he heard his neighbors screaming in her house while her roof was being torn off up in St. Lucie. And there was nothing he could do, but afterward, they're really taking care of each other, making it through this.
Yeah, it was really remarkable to see it looked like a business owner there where the red barn was. Mm-hmm. You know, his whole livelihood looks like it's in shambles, and there he is, you know, feeling happy about it, that everybody's okay. Talk to us, Jack, about the nature of those tornadoes, how they just popped out of nowhere.
Right, so everyone was preparing for the hurricane. Nobody expected tornadoes. This area is not usually hit by tornadoes, St. Lucie or the east coast of Florida at all. So this is a big surprise, and for them, the tornadoes killed 6 people up in St. Lucie at this elderly retirement complex, and you could see just homes completely just in shambles, destroyed. It was like a bulldozer ran over them. Basically, we talked to this owner that we saw earlier. He was the owner of Al's Family Farms. This is a landmark in that neighborhood. Everyone knows about it. They sell citrus fruits, and they have a barbecue there. Now, they had a second story there. It was completely destroyed by the tornado, and the owner said that he was leaving there. 2 minutes after he left there, the tornado hit, and he didn't even know about it until his son, who's a firefighter, called him and told him there's a tornado headed toward his business. Luckily, he got out of there in time, and there was a common message of faith, too, saying that it was by the hand of God that a lot of people made it through this.
Wow, that's really remarkable. Now, Jack, what's the latest with some of the other states? Of course, we had Hurricane Helene that hit Florida, but also made its way up to states like North Carolina. So Helene, of course, we're seeing a lot more disaster there, and a lot of people after Helene were expecting Milton to be even bigger than that. So that's why so many people evacuated. When it wasn't as big, a lot of people said that it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be, at least in certain areas. Then they were very grateful that it wasn't like Helene, how Helene hit North Carolina. Up in North Carolina, there were many more killed, and they're still finding people. The recovery efforts are underway, of course. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, there's been the latest development on this is that they've arrested one person, the local county sheriff's office up in North Carolina. It was Rutherford County. And they arrested a 44-year-old William Jacob Parsons for allegedly threatening FEMA workers. Apparently they were trying to do recovery efforts, and they received concerns of a organized militia. County sheriffs determined that militia was just a rumor, didn't actually turn out to be so. So the suspect was sitting outside in his car outside of a storm relief site, which was a grocery store, turned into a storm relief site where he was arrested. That's the latest development on that. And today's Jack Bradley, great reporting out there. Appreciate it. And both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump are making their cases to the American people. We will find out. Here's the story. And NTD's Jason Blair is joining us. Jason, good evening to you. Jason, what can you tell us?
Hey, Steve, good evening. Yeah, so Harris has been showing a lot of signs of stepping up her campaign this week. Reportedly, Trump was actually outpacing her in September. ABC reported that as far as rallies, media appearances, town halls, and any public events with where they were speaking at, Trump did 21 and Harris did 13. So Harris is really stepping things up. It's looking like for this week. On Sunday, she did 2 events in North Carolina. She was at a church, and she also spoke at a rally after that. And I do have a clip from that rally here. Have a look.
Well, I care about fixing problems. And as President of the United States, I will be focused each and every day on solving problems that affect you and your family.
Yeah, so this week she has on her schedule, she's going to be in Wisconsin, she's going to be in Michigan, and she's in Pennsylvania, then she's going to be in Georgia later, and of course, now she's here in Erie. She's going to be speaking within the hour. She's also going to be accompanied by John Fetterman, who I think is going to be speaking before her, so he should be taking the stage here any minute. And she also announced today she's going to be on Fox News for an interview. It will be her first appearance on the network for the election cycle. That is also going to be done here in Pennsylvania, and that will be on Wednesday. It's also scheduled to be aired on Wednesday the same day. And then Real Clear Politics, the averages are showing all the swing states. Both candidates are only within 1% of each other. And of course, here in Pennsylvania is considered the most crucial swing state to win, and it has a whopping 19 electoral votes.
So, Jason, as you mentioned, Kamala Harris is in Pennsylvania. She's pounding the pavement. I know it's very loud in there. Give us a sense for how packed that stadium is. And she's doing a radio town hall in Detroit tomorrow. What is her schedule like right now?
Yeah, so here in Erie, we are in a stadium. There's, I think around 9,000. I'm not quite sure how accurate that number is, but everything does look full. People are getting excited. There's a DJ who's been playing music. Some people have come up to speak before her. And yeah, people seem really excited. A lot of people have signs. But yeah, she's making her way here through Pennsylvania. Tomorrow she's going to be in Michigan at a radio town hall. So she's going to be in Detroit sitting down with the Breakfast Club. And according to the show, if people do want to ask her questions, they can go to the iHeartRadio app and submit questions for the vice president there through the app. And it was originally reported that she's going to be unveiling new economic policy that will benefit Black Americans. However, today there was an announcement. Maybe she's jumping the gun a little bit. She announced that a part of her plan, she wants to make 1 million forgivable loans available for Black entrepreneurs who want to start a business, and those loans are up to $20,000. So we'll see if she goes into more detail. Probably will tomorrow during the hall on the radio show, the town hall on the radio show.
NTD's Jason Blair live from a Harris Town Hall in Erie, Pennsylvania. Thank you, Jason. And with less than 21 days until the general election, former President Trump is campaigning in states where he's trailing Vice President by about double digits. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez joins us at the Data Hub to break it down.
That's right. Former President Donald Trump campaigned this past weekend near Coachella in California and is also expected to campaign at Madison Square Garden in New York City on October 27th. So to understand why the Republican presidential candidate would be spending precious time before the November 5th general election in deep blue states, we need to look at this graph over here, the predicted House balance of power. We need to remember that on November 5th, Americans will vote not only for their next president, but also for all 435 members of the House of Representatives. Now, Republicans, according to the latest polls, are on path to securing 207 seats in the House, and Democrats 196. Either party needs to reach 218 here, the magic number, to reach the majority. Now, the pathway to that magic number goes through these toss-up elections, 32 House races that are considered toss-ups, so the margin of error in between both candidates is 5 points, and the difference in between them is 5 points. And again, now let's think, why would former President Donald Trump go to California or New York, deep blue states, campaign right before the general elections? Let's look at what that presidential race in California is looking like. We have here Vice President Kamala Harris leading former President Donald Trump by over 20 points. So the reason for Trump spending time in California is what we're going to see right now. It's the House races in the state of California. Here we have, there are 5 toss-ups. Of those 32 that we mentioned at the beginning, 5 toss-ups are in the state of California. Right now, we have Democrats leading by 4 points in the 13th district, by 5 points in the 22nd, 4 points in the 27th, and by 2 points in the 45th. It's only Congressman Calvert in the 41st district that is holding ground for Republicans. Right now, all of these are held by Republicans, where Democrats, except for Calvert, are leading the races. So the participation of former President Donald Trump near Coachella in California is most likely to boost these races. Same goes for the state of New York. If we look at the presidential polls for the state of New York, we can see that, again, Vice President Kamala Harris leading in the polls by double digits. Former President Donald Trump has said that he thinks New York is in play. Truth is, New York has not voted Republican for the presidential ticket since 1984. But if we look at the House races in the state of New York, here we go. We have 4 House races that are considered toss-ups in the state of New York. All these 4 races turned red in 2022, and that's what gave the Republicans the majority then. So in order for Republicans to keep their majority now on November 5th, they're going to have to defend all of these 4 races, and that's why on October 27, former President Donald Trump is going to Madison Square Garden. So finally, just going back to the House balance of power as it is predicted right now, according to the latest polls from Real Clear Politics, there are 32 races, and 9 of them are in this considered toss-ups. 32 races considered toss-ups, 9 of them concentrate in California and New York, and that is why former President Donald Trump is spending time in deep blue states. Back to you.
And coming up, TV host and author Bill O'Reilly joins us to discuss his latest book, Confronting the Presidents: No Spin Assessments from Washington to Biden. And from 2016 to 2024, have voters changed their positions in the last 8 years? We'll bring you some perspectives straight from the voters, right here after the break.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them.
I grew up in poverty, and I actually became physically homeless right after I had turned 16.
I didn't have anywhere to sleep, and I didn't really have friends or family that could support me.
To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference: Covenant House.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety, hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life.
Without the Covenant House, I honestly could not tell you where I would be today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I would not be here today if it weren't for the kindness of strangers, people who donated to Covenant House so that they could support me when I couldn't support myself.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible.
Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month.
Will radical lies determine your child's future, or will timeless truths? Fathom the Good equips children with wisdom against the world. Our homeschool curriculum teaches high schoolers to think critically. We provide primary texts, original content, reasoning tools, and mentoring videos to help them transform America. Teach your children to navigate the world's woke confusion. Teach them to fathom the good.
And from the Federalists to the Whigs, America has cycled through various political parties since its inception. We spoke with Bill O'Reilly, host of No Spin News and co-author of the recently released book, Confronting the Presidents, No Spin Assessments from Washington to Biden. We had a chance to ask him about his new book and the latest with the 2024 election. Bill O'Reilly, thank you so much for joining us.
Steve, pleasure to be here.
Bill, I want to ask you about your latest book, Confronting the Presidents. Great title in just a moment. So many interesting takes, by the way. But first, let's turn to our current election. Democratic voter registration bill has fallen in key states such as Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Nevada, while Republican registration seemed to have increased. A University of Pittsburgh historian noting that former Reagan Democrats are shifting to the Republican Party. What challenges does this pose to Democrats? Is it indicative of a wider trend reflecting lack of enthusiasm toward the Biden-Harris administration?
Well, it's going to be very difficult to ascertain that until after the vote on the exit polling. But if you go by history, and that's what I do here, I'm a historian / journalist, the registration helps the down ticket, helps Congress, senators, governors to some extent. The more people that are registered to a certain party, the easier it is for that party's candidate to win. California and New York are great examples of that. Very hard for any Republican to win in either state because overwhelmingly the people have registered Democrat. With this presidential election, however, it's all about emotion on both sides. And that's going to wipe out a lot of party feeling. So Donald Trump lost to Joe Biden by 7 million votes because those 7 million votes despised Donald Trump, not because they loved Joe Biden. He lost because of people hated him in 20. But Biden's been so bad that some of that hatred now is dissolving because people don't have nearly as much money as they used to have under Trump. And it's all about that. That's no matter what the press tells you, that is issue number one. People's economic circumstance. And it's declining under Democrats who are the high taxation party. And everybody knows that. So I don't see party registration as a big factor in the presidential vote, but it certainly could be for the down ticket.
Bill, let's zoom out a little bit here. I want to talk to you about your new book. You discuss the divisions in politics. Where are you observing these divides in today's campaign promises, and how significant are they in shaping the voter behavior and influencing the outcome of the election?
It depends how informed you are. So I put the number about 50% of Americans don't know much. The song is don't know much about history, right? Well, they don't know much about anything. And they don't really care. They live in a world that's dominated by this. And they create their own world in this, Steve. And then the outside world, when they have to deal with it, like go to work, earn a living, go to Thanksgiving dinner, all right. But they're basically living in cyberspace. Those people can be easily manipulated one way or the other. All right, they don't really pay attention. They don't know what the national debt is. They don't know what the abortion debate is all about. They really don't understand. The other 50% are kind of dialed into basically what the media presents to them, and that presents a major problem because the media right now overwhelming favoring the Democratic Party and Kamala Harris. I think about 80% of it does. So they're picking up stuff from the media, which a lot of it is just rank propaganda. So it's very hard in this day and age to find out what's true and what isn't true, because there's a lot of money to be made by telling people what they want to hear.
And to your book, Confronting the Presidents, you don't hold back for any president, really, in what party they're in. In the process of writing the book, how did you determine a president's legacy, Bill, and basically how many years it would typically pass before the full impact of their presidency can be assessed?
Well, that's a good question, Steve. I couldn't assess Biden or Trump because that's just still unfolding. So what Martin Dugard and I, Martin Dugard's my co-author, we wrote essays on them. Two different, I wrote my essay on Trump and Biden, he wrote his, and the two are different. But the other presidents, what we zeroed in on was the good things they did for Americans and the bad things. And then you, the reader, we don't rank the presidents in a book. You, the reader, can decide. And it's the heavy-duty stuff they did, not the little stuff, like Obamacare. Was that good or bad? Okay, that's the kind of thing that we go into. And then we tell you about them as people, which I think is the most entertaining part of Confronting the Presidents, because we have a tendency to mythologize all our presidents. They were regular folks. They were regular people. Some of them are really bad people, and Americans don't know that.
Just lastly, Bill, aside from former President Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," and with the recent release of the film Reagan, biopic of former President Ronald Reagan, what are some of the biggest similarities and differences between Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump?
No, there's a lot of them. And by the way, if you want to see a really good movie, not a cupcake, because the President Reagan movie is a cupcake to Ronald Reagan. Nothing wrong with that. I think Reagan was an excellent president myself. I wrote a book on him, Killing Reagan, and we had a movie made on the book. If you want to see a good movie about Reagan, which isn't a cupcake, rent Killing Reagan. Reagan was a technician. And he sold his programs because he was an actor, a very, very talented communicator. But he was an ideologue. He did believe in traditional America. He believed abortion is only justified in self-defense when the mother's life or health is severely impacted, that kind of thing. He had a series of beliefs. Trump is a businessman. He's transactional. He's fluid. Reagan was a conservative. Trump's not. Trump governs like, okay, what's the best deal I can get that will help my constituency? That's how he does it. Reagan was more philosophical, evil empire, Soviet Union, how are we going to beat them? And we bankrupted them, all right, because that was Reagan's goal, because he was offended by their existence. Trump probably would have made a deal with the Soviets to de-emphasize, because Trump gets along with Putin. So the two men, not a lot in common, other than they're both charismatic, and Americans paid attention to them.
Bill O'Reilly, really fascinating new book, Confronting the Presidents, a no-spin assessment from Washington to Biden. Thank you so much for joining, Bill.
Steve, a pleasure to have me. Thank you very much.
And while Vice President Kamala Harris campaigns through northwestern Pennsylvania, former President Trump holding a town hall in the suburbs of Philadelphia comes as his campaign officially announces a rally at New York City's Madison Square Garden. NTD's Iris Tao has more from the campaign trail.
As both candidates are seeking to win this biggest battleground prize with 19 electoral votes, former President Trump is holding a town hall here with a focus on the economy. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem will be moderating it.
Most importantly, we're going to get interest rates brought way down. You know, we had interest rates at 2%. We're going to create the American dream for young people and for older people, too.
Trump is trying to appeal to voters in this key state with his energy policies, especially when it comes to oil drilling and fracking. Polls are showing that Trump and Harris are in the dead heat here in Pennsylvania, and Monday will mark Harris's 10th visit to this state in this campaign season and Trump's third stop here in just 1 week. Earlier on Monday, Trump's running mate Senator J.D. Vance was speaking before a police station in Minneapolis with a theme on public security.
We want somebody who stands with our law enforcement, and most importantly, who stands with the communities that depend on law enforcement, and that means we want Donald J. Trump as president.
Meanwhile, as Trump swings through battleground states, his campaign on Monday officially announced that Trump will be holding a rally in Madison Square Garden in deep blue New York City on October 27th, just 9 days before the election. His campaign says the economy will be the main focus as, quote, disastrous economic policies are draining the bank accounts of hardworking New Yorkers. On Tuesday, Trump will participate in a pre-taped TV town hall hosted by Fox News with a focus on women's issues. It will air at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, just hours before Vice President Kamala Harris is set to participate in a live Fox News interview just on that evening. Reporting from Oaks, Pennsylvania, Iris Howe, NTD News.
And from 2016 to 2024, have people changed their minds on who they'll vote for? NTD's Sam Wong was out at the National Mall to hear from the voters.
How'd you voted in 2016 and 2020?
2016 and 2020, I voted for Donald Trump. And I thought, being a businessman, I thought he would be, he'd bring a different type of mentality to running.
We are lifelong liberal Democrats. Policies which are humane, who care for we, the people.
Donald Trump. I'm a conservative, and I thought he was the best decision.
So we did vote for Donald Trump.
Because he's for the American people.
Hillary Clinton and Trump. Once Trump was in, you know, it made sense. He's the kind of the alpha dog, someone you'd want to lead the country.
2020 was Biden.
Yeah.
2016 was
Hillary Clinton.
2016 was Trump. 2020 was Trump. There's some issues that need to be addressed, and big government needs to be chopped in half.
And who are you voting for in this election?
Most likely Trump. Proven leadership, accomplishments, kind of the opposite of Harris.
So this year I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. The January 6th, as I said, basically changed me because I don't think he believes in democracy.
We'll continue voting for Donald Trump. We vote for him because of we're voting for life, we're voting for biblical principle.
Harris Wall's ticket. And Vice President Harris, who is very principled, believes in the Constitution, believes in the law.
2024 will be Trump. Entitlements are the Democrat cause, so we're done with entitlements.
It's Kamala Harris I'm voting for. Dick Cheney was one of the most corrupt people to ever be around the White House, in my opinion. So it does concern me that he's backing Harris.
Donald Trump again. We are going down a path that we don't want to go down, and we need to get our freedoms back, and I believe Donald Trump is the one to do that.
And after the break, the Nobel Peace Prize for Economics awarded to the authors of Why Nations Fail, their research showing that democracy is better for prosperity long term. And what do China's slowing exports and shrinking manufacturing mean for Americans? We'll talk to a former Virginia congressman to discuss the implications of China's trade data for September. That and more when we return.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, ride your bike.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, smile big and bright.
Thousands of kids just like me are happy every day.
And it's all because of generous people like you who support Shriners Hospitals for Children every month.
All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go online to loveshriners.org right now with your monthly gift.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children is able to make an everyday miracle happen for kids like me.
If you're happy and you know it, dance around. If you're happy and you know it, play a song.
If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, take a shot.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Will today be the day you send your love to the rescue?
When you call the number on your screen right now and give as little as $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you'll be making a life-changing difference for a child, just like Sarah.
Your monthly gift today could change your life forever.
Because of you.
We are happy and we know it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals, especially vitamins A, D, E, calcium, and iron. With natural processing and no harmful chemical additives, it has more than 90% concentration of omegas 3, 6, 7, and 9. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritang omega-3 does not smell of fish and contains no pollutants, so both adults and children can safely and easily consume it over a long period of time. Puritang green vegetable omega-3, greener, healthier, and more effective. Visit puritang.com to learn more.
And welcome back to the Capitol Report. I'm Steve Lance. The Nobel Prize for Economics going to 3 researchers investigating the differences between prosperous and poor countries. Winner Daron Acemoglu says democracy generally leads to prosperity, especially long-term.
Inclusive economic institutions have secure property rights and things that uphold something like equality of opportunity, a level playing field. So education, public infrastructure, the right kind of regulation are key.
He's the co-author of Why Nations Fail, along with fellow winner James Robinson. The third winner, Simon Johnson, adding that autocratic countries can grow quickly as well by mobilizing resources and directing them to existing sectors and firms. But this kind of growth is less sustainable long-term and results in less innovation. And speaking of autocratic countries, China's trade data for September reportedly showing manufacturing shrinking for a 5th consecutive month. That's due to these numbers. What do these numbers mean for China's economic outlook? Joining me now is former Republican Congressman Dave Bratt to discuss the implications for the United States. Congressman Dave Bratt, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me on, Steve. Great.
It's great to have you on, Dave. China releasing its trade data for September today. Manufacturing reportedly shrinking for a 5th consecutive month, and new export orders fell to their worst in 7 months. What could happen if China's manufacturing keeps shrinking over the course of time here?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to show that I'm going to do straight economics, the answer is exactly what's happening to America right now, right? Our productivity, according to the major economist at Northwestern University, Robert Gordon, productivity has been going down for 70 years because we have weakened our dependence on using the free market system. And Congressional Budget Office, CBO, has us going down productivity for the next 30 years. And so what I would expect for China is the same thing, but on steroids, because they control and regulate every aspect of their universe, right? And so they've really gone after the entrepreneurs, the innovators, the owners of capital, and their new startup data in China. It's not just down; it's in the basement. And so that's your indicator of kind of the, the free market ethos at work. And if you lose that dynamic piece, you can try to force government investment, which has served them well in the past, but it will not work going into the future. And, Xi Jinping gave the talk a year ago. He said, we're going to go full on Marxist-Leninist. We're going inward. We're giving up on China culture, and we're getting rid of economic reform. And, of course, economic reform means using markets and price signals. So I think they'll have a lost decade like Japan, most likely.
And Dave, obviously China relies heavily on their manufacturing and exports, which is over the course of time, really decimated the United States manufacturing base here at home. Exports there cooling sharply and imports rising just only 0.3% in September, below the economist estimates. How could stricter trade rules from the EU, the US, and even Canada affect China's exports?
Yeah, well, I think that is what's going on for a few reasons. Number one, you got changes in political regimes, notably the United States up in 30 days. That'll have profound effect one way or the other. And then simultaneously, the automobile contest with the electric cars, et cetera, that's coming into play. But also everyone, China, the golden rule is kind of shared even by the Chinese, right? The Confucians and Buddhists and Christians and Jewish and Muslim all know this golden rule thing. And China just isn't playing by any rules. And so, we've been trying in good faith, trying to get their sons and daughters to become, capitalists in the good sense. But now Taiwan and the signs of aggression and shooting a ballistic warhead into the ocean, it wasn't capped, or it was a fake one, but they are showing signs of aggression. And so finally, the Fortune 500 guys, they're just trading right up till the day we're at war, apparently. Which I find stunning from a risk analysis point of view. The fact that CEOs are not weighing in these geopolitical factors into their calculations for future earnings is just stunning to me. But I think it's starting to sink in, so we'll see.
Dave, you really raise I think, a very important point when you're talking about Wall Street, American CEOs not factoring that in. In the meantime, you have a lot of hardworking Americans who have their pension plans, they might not even know it, that are invested in China.
Yeah. And so that in a nutshell is an indication of what's gone wrong on Wall Street. They're not paying attention to the bread and butter issues of making good products and listening to what consumers want. They're listening to what the billionaire class wants. And I think the chickens are going to come home to roost on that one.
And with so much going on here in the United States, it's hard to really follow what's going on in the rest of the world, let alone in China. But, we actually technically could be, the shiny object, because Beijing has announced numerous measures to stimulate the economy. But experts are still very skeptical. Why have China, and not just China, maybe you can equate it to the U.S., past economic stimulus efforts been unsuccessful? Yeah, well,
the thought experiment that you can capture most easily is just ask yourself in the United States right now, if you took away the $8 trillion on the Federal Reserve Bank balance sheet, and if you took away the $2 trillion in federal government stimulus spending, right? So the budget's $7 trillion, $2 trillion of it is borrowed from the next generation. If you took that away right now, what would happen to our economy? And your answer would be, you'd be in not a recession, you'd be in depression era GDP shrinkage categories. And so that's the problem. We're not, no one across the globe, everyone's living on a 3-month horizon, trying to fake out the voters. The young kids are going along with it. They're going to pay the piper for this, and we are too. But that's what's going on, right? They're stimulating the money growth. They're stimulating federal government spending. All the new jobs in the U.S. have gone to foreign-born workers. All the net new jobs are part-time. All the jobs are going to the government sector, which has negative productivity. And so you can cheat for a while, like Japan did, like China is, like we are, and eventually it's going to catch up. And I think the Americans are catching on to this right now. We'll see if the Chinese people catch on.
Former Congressman Dave Bratt, really appreciate your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Steve. Great show.
And in more international news, Canada just expelling 6 Indian diplomats, including the High Commissioner. The police accusing them of being linked to homicides, harassment, and other acts of violence against Sikh separatists in Canada. Relations between both countries hitting rock bottom last year following the assassination on Canadian soil of a prominent Sikh separatist. Canada's foreign minister saying the police gathered, quote, ample, clear, and concrete evidence which identified 6 individuals as persons of interest. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accusing the Indian government of engaging in supporting criminal activity against Canadians on Canadian soil. India swiftly expelling 6 Canadian diplomats in response, including the acting High Commissioner. The Indian government has called the accusations preposterous and said it was withdrawing the officials expelled by the Canadian government. And coming up, U.S. Army combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, Rico Danielson. He'll join us to discuss the escalating tensions in the Middle East and America's support for Israel in the conflicts.
When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without a high school diploma. My name is Ariel, and my entire life changed when I took a chance and I got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges. Oh my goodness.
So Ariel, we made this yearbook for you. It has notes from all the people that are here. Your achievement has set an example for so many students. Most importantly, your daughter.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
I'm Richard Karn, and I love my hose. It ain't those old hoses. This is my hose. The new Pocket Hose Copper Bullet, now infused with real copper, so your water is always clean and lead-free. Just turn on the water and watch your hose grow and grow. And when you turn off the water, away it goes. Our new inner tube uses 3 layers of high-strength latex on the inside. Then it's wrapped in a new polymer filament jacket, 3 times stronger than the other hoses. But my favorite part of our new hose build? The oversized, easy-to-grip fittings. Get the super light 25-foot Pocket Hose Copper Bullet today for only $29.99. But wait, call now and get our copper spray nozzle with our exclusive thumb drive free. This is an exclusive release of our newest Pocket Hose. Order now.
Call 1-800-960-8919. That's 1-800-960-8919 or visit copperbullethose.com. Order now.
For those who cherish tradition and stand for the values that built this great nation, Republican Red Winery proudly embodies the spirit of American greatness. Let's raise a glass to forging our own future, building a bigger, better, and stronger America. The best is yet to come.
And the latest from Israel, the IDF reporting discovering an underground tunnel in Lebanon. The Hezbollah terrorist group was allegedly preparing for a major attack on Israel.
They were planned with the motorcycles here to go to Kiryat Shmona, to Iftach, to villages and positions inside Israel and conduct a massacre.
On Sunday, a Hezbollah drone attack on Israel, killing 4 soldiers and injuring more than 60 people. It's according to first responders and the Israeli military. It's one of the bloodiest attacks on Israel since the beginning of the war last October. The Pentagon saying Sunday that the U.S. will send an advanced anti-missile system and U.S. troops to operate it to Israel. That's to help bolster the country's air defenses after Iran's unprecedented attack. And the U.S. warning Americans to depart Beirut, Lebanon immediately. And the Pentagon plans to send an anti-missile defense system, as we told you, to Israel. 4 IDF soldiers dead now from Hezbollah drone strikes in northern Israel. Joining me now to assess is Rico Danielson, U.S. Army combat veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan to discuss the latest escalations in the Middle East. Rico, thank you so much for joining us. The U.S. Embassy in Beirut today giving its strongest warning yet, advising American citizens to depart immediately. What does this say about the long-term projections of what we'll see unfold in the Middle East, and how serious should these warnings be taken?
Yeah, good to be on the show, Steve. Thank you so much for having me on. So whenever the embassy and any embassy in the world releases a statement saying, hey, the citizens of that embassy should leave, more than likely there's an imminent attack of some sort of magnitude and massive attack coming. So the threat intelligence is telling us that more than likely this is going to escalate and very quickly, very fast, and also to a magnitude that nobody has probably ever seen, probably more than likely since the Iraq-Afghan war, the invasion, and also the shock and awe. So I wouldn't be surprised if this propagates even bigger and bigger and becomes more of a bolsterous issue for the region and causing regional destabilization.
Yeah, the U.S. sending a high-altitude anti-missile defense system plus 100 U.S. troops to Israel. This after Iran's missile attack on Israel about 2 weeks ago that the Israelis have yet to respond to. How significant is this support from the U.S. for Israel's war against Iranian proxies?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you really think about it, this is called the king of battle. The United States is sending the king of battle into the Israeli war area. And that's just in a very big, significant message to the adversary, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or Iran. This type of warfare and also this type of long-range missile and short-range missile will mitigate threats. And the message they're trying to say is nobody's without reach. Everybody's within the reach of these missiles. And it's trying to show that there should be a ability to come as a cohesive nation together so we don't have to launch these missiles at each other and for each other.
Now, Israel has not yet indicated how it will respond to Iran's missile attacks, but Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant last week reportedly said a counterattack will be deadly, precise, and surprising. How does Israel calculate its response? What are you anticipating? And how do you think Iran will ultimately respond to this attack?
So Israel is very precise, very efficient and effective, and very clean and smooth how they do their deal. More than likely, if I'm on the Israeli side, I would target their high-value targets, probably more than likely the Ayatollah itself and the underlings below it. And then on top of that, do a sequential order, a 3-in-1 hit, do them all at one time, and kind of wipe the slate very easily, very smooth. And then on top of that, take out critical infrastructure to the military, not to the civilian, but to the military. Their battery, their supply chain, their uranium, anything of that matter. That's how Israel will more likely do that in a systematic approach and a unison approach.
Now, Hezbollah, obviously an Iranian proxy, one of their drones striking and reportedly killing 4 IDF soldiers, injuring more than 60 on Sunday at a base in northern Israel. Talk to us about the capability that Hezbollah still has despite Israel's targets and strikes on its key leaders.
Yeah, Israel does not underestimate Hezbollah or the other regions of Hamas as well. They know for a fact they're a nitty-gritty fighter and they use by any means possible. So more than likely Hezbollah is not too militarized, even though they do paramilitary operations. They're using free drones, any type of drone that they can possibly get their hands on, home remedied weaponry, and also any sort of explosives. So they're trying everything that they can. And unfortunately, Hezbollah is going to meet their demise because you have a war machine such as Israel, who's been backed by the United States, that will take the fight to them. And even the country of Lebanon does not want Hezbollah in their country, so they're pushing them to the corridor so they fight them head-on, one-on-one with Israel.
Now, an Israeli strike on the grounds of a hospital in central Gaza earlier today, reportedly killing 4 people, injuring roughly 70. The IDF saying that it was targeted at a Hamas command center in a lot adjacent to the hospital and took steps to mitigate harm to civilians. What is your perspective on some of this sad but true collateral damage as someone who has fought in the Middle East?
So war is dirty. War is not pretty. There will always be casualties and collateral damage, unfortunately. More than likely, Israelis have targeted their Hezbollah and also Hamas targets, and they knew precisely where they were. Unfortunately, a lot of Hezbollah and Hamas targets hide within their civilians and also hospitals. And unfortunately, this is one of those atrocities of war. Israel does not want to kill innocent humans. They want to kill the enemy, and the enemy is cowardness to go and hide in the hospitals.
Rico Danielson, appreciate your insights.
Absolutely.
And that is all we have for you tonight on the Capitol Report. For round-the-clock original coverage, visit us at ntd.com/live and download our NTD mobile app. From the nation's capital, I'm Steve Lance. Have a nice evening. See you back here tomorrow.